Everybody, welcome to the show where the pick makes you wonder, is this man high? The answer was yes. And we're also learning to fade my total picks as we went 1-7 yesterday. Absolutely horrible. But the safe picks went 5-3. We're an opportunistic USF defense away from going 6-2 on that front. But they were forcing a lot of turnovers over there. And if you want to include my late fade of Bowling Green, the spreads actually did pretty decent going 5-4. And we actually did find some value in some of these value picks. Not the best, but we split. I think we went about 4-4. Actually, hold on, let me check. No, we went 3-5, so could be a little bit better, but let's hope we do good here. So we're gonna just get things kicked off right away with App State and Charlotte. And a lot of money has been flowing on Charlotte, but new coaching staff, I feel like things are gonna take some time to click. App State's also bringing in SEC transfer AJ Swan. That's keeping continuity at the run game. Charlotte is breaking in Tim. And he's got a new quarterback there too, who just has 70 career passes. First game chemistry here. I'm a favor App State here. So I see the alt spread. I see them getting it done by a touchdown easily. 27-20 is my prediction for the final here. And that's also going to side with the spread for 4.5. Well, this App State defense allowed 33 points per game last year. Charlotte's defense was worse. They allowed 35 points, and they only had 18 sacks all season. Yes, there's question marks at Appalachian's offensive line, but Charlotte is way weaker defensively. And even though with that being said, I'm still going to lean towards the under on 50.5 because both teams are transitioning offensively with new quarterbacks. O-lines are a little here. I'm not expecting those 60 points. I am expecting maybe honestly right on the dot at 50, but we're gonna bring it down to 47, and that's what I'm seeing on that game because and with the coaching stability, with the App State, and a little bit being deeper on that side of the ball, I'm gonna go ahead and say the safe pick is getting App State just to win straight up. Money line's a very solid pick here. And then let's see what's our next game. So next game we got Western Michigan going to Sparty, and this is a game that I'm gonna see straight up is kind of a massacre, right? I'm gonna see like Michigan is gonna probably look a lot like Rutgers kind of did yesterday. They got Jonathan Smith is in year two. His Look, this offense has retooled with massive upgrades at the receiver. They bring in Maury Kelly. McCray comes in. They got Jack Bellin at tight end. And this is a Western Michigan defense that allowed 31 points per game last season, and they lost all their linebackers, which might actually be not that much of a bad thing considering how many points they allowed. But look, historically, Michigan State has won 24 straight home openers versus non-conference opponents. And I'm gonna go ahead and I feel like the safe pick here, honestly, is just yeah, it's Michigan State at least first quarter to get a go by a touchdown. Look, they got a new look offense. They're gonna have the home rowdy crowd going, and I see them at least honestly at least 10-0 going into the second quarter. As for the spread, it's a little iffy. 20.5 is a big number. I don't really like high numbers like that. But still, this is a Western Michigan team that lost a lot of depth on the chart, a lot of players, and the Big Ten talent. I'm gonna have to go with a slight lean towards Michigan State at that 20.5. Even though they were 3-8 to the against the spread last year, I'm still seeing this shouldn't be close. And with that retooled new offense over there at Michigan State, I see this pushing over 49.5 simply because I see Michigan State putting well over 30 points. I see some value picking that 11.5 first half spread. Michigan State should easily be up at least 20 points, if not 17 at the least. Next game, we're going to go into Kennesaw State and Wake Forest. Bring up this graphic real quick. And I'm seeing some value in Wake Forest, 6.5. Again, kind of same thinking behind the Michigan State pick here. A touchdown first quarter. It should be easy. It should be easy, especially after Kennesaw State just went 2-10 in their first FBS year. They allowed 31 points per game. I'm seeing some death mismatches going to show here early. And for the spread, we're going to lean to Wake Forest actually covering that 17.5. Yeah, look, Kennesaw State's bringing in the new coach from Washington State, and yes, he brings in a lot of his offensive line actually with him. I feel like they're going to try to establish a run identity here. but they're still lacking size in the trenches overall. And Wake Forest is no slouch. They're going to get this done. Both defenses were actually bottom tier last year. Kennesaw State, I almost said Kansas State, but Kennesaw State went 106 and Wake Forest was 121st in points allowed. Two offenses with mobile quarterbacks. I'm expecting some fireworks here. I'm gonna lean towards the over actually on 50 and a half, even though I have the final score finishing around like 48, but that's a little too close to that 50 and a half. So we're gonna go ahead and lean towards that over. I feel like the safe pick here though is Wake Forest at least by 2 touchdowns, right? They got their defense still make league points, but double digit favorites, they should be able to cover that. They've done it before. 2 touchdown against the Kennesaw team that went 2-10 and finished really struggled against FBS schools. They should catch this one. Now here goes my first real favorite value pick here. I'm very big on Colorado money line right here, right? Look, there's some health scares going for Prime. I feel like that adds a little fuel here to Colorado to play a little more, play more what's the word, spirited kind of for their coach here. A little more fuel in the fire kind of flaming for him, right? And they bring in Liberty transfer quarterback Shelter, and he had 56 touchdowns and 21 rushing touchdowns in his career. He's kind of the same style as Shador. I'm not going to see much fall off in that offense, to be honest, especially with that offensive line. I'm expecting to be a real strength of them. This team actually has the talent to run the ball very strong. Will they? That's another thing to be seen. But look, they have talent across the board on this offensive line. I think that's their biggest improvement here. And I feel like that's what's going to give Georgia Tech a problem here. And with that money lines being a value pick, I'm also going to go Colorado plus 4.5. Look, Georgia Tech was 7-6 last season, but they were very inconsistent. Colorado's defense was opportunistic last year. They had 27 forced turnovers, and I feel like they get a couple here in this game as well to keep this at least within a field goal range. I definitely don't see them losing by more than a touchdown. God damn, look, that defense was good last year in Colorado, right? And the offense, new offensive line, well, not new offensive line, but improved offensive line. And I feel like if they're going to run the ball, they can control the tempo here. And I just don't see them by losing more than a touchdown, especially at home. When I have them actually pulling this one out 31-27, which leads to the over here, both defenses. Yes, Colorado's defense was a little bit better, right? But they allowed the mid 20 points per season. So I feel like this could easily one of these schools are going to get into the 30. I'm leaning more towards Colorado. Georgia Tech is definitely going to put up 20 points at least. So we're gonna lean towards the over right here. And now here we go. Look, there's a lot. This is a big game right here. There's a lot of people that are high on Baylor. Why wouldn't you be? They're returning a lot of faces on that offense that was clicking last year. Absolutely on high cylinders, firing on all cylinders last year towards the end of the season. But that was against Big 12 opponents where they don't play defense. Let's be honest here. It's all offense in the Big 12 except for like a Iowa State maybe, Kansas State maybe. I don't even think I'd put Kansas State in there. Maybe just Iowa State, honestly. But I do see some value pick towards Baylor here. Look, and that's because of a lot of the returning faces. They have SEC size talent. Auburn is still sorting out some QB consistency, and they were in a lot of close games last year. If you watched Auburn at all last year, you would know they had some heartbreaking losses. And with Baylor clicking, I do see some actual value here on Baylor money line. However, I'm going to lean towards Auburn on the spread here. Look, it's still an SEC team. They're still a deeper at talent, especially in the trenches. Baylor's defense allowed damn near 30 points per game last year. Again, Auburn's actual attack might Auburn might have some chances here, and I expect an Auburn defense to really step up here against a Baylor offense that yes is on fire, but again against Big 12 opponents, SEC a little different dog in my opinion, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And because of that, I'm gonna lean towards the under, especially with how much Auburn ran last season. Baylor likes to run the ball too, so we might kind of see a grind it out kind of game right here with more of a slower paced feel. I'm definitely going to go towards the under in 59 and a half right here. And I feel like the safe pick is even under 63 and a half. I don't see both of these teams putting up 30 points. It's maybe the high 20s, but that's about where I got it. Now UNLV versus Sam Houston, and UNLV has problems. They allowed, what was it, 30 points? How many? Let me see how many yards they allowed to Idaho State. They gave up 555 yards to Idaho State. That that's a problem. However, I do expect them to be addressed during the practices after that game, especially by Dan Mullen. And I'm gonna lean towards the under here. That's actually probably a crazy pick considering how up-tempo Sam Houston likes to play. They got some players over there ish. They do like to play up-tempo though, so they're gonna go fast-paced and with a leaky UNLV defense, they're gonna put up some points as well. But still, I'm gonna lean towards the under. Remember, I was 1-7 in these total picks, so take that for what it's worth. UNLV is explosive, but Sam Houston has lost all 11 starters, and again, that's just screams over. And I feel like when it screams over so obviously, that's when you got to go towards the under. But because of how leaky UNLV's defense was, I'm seeing some value here in Sam Houston plus 9.5. They can move the ball. Again, they like to play up tempo. UNLV just gave up 555 yards to Idaho State. Um, they can move the ball. I wouldn't be shocked if they do a backdoor cover here and actually cover that 9.5 and end up losing by like a touchdown, maybe 6 points even. Would not be surprised, but I'm actually going to lean towards UNLV to cover this at 9.5. Again, Sam Houston lost all 11 defensive starters. UNLV is explosive. They are explosive on that side of the ball, and to get it done by 10 points, I feel like they're deeper. They're a little bit better defensively and offensively, so I'm gonna lean them to get this done at least by 10.5. Not 10.5, but at least 9.5. And I'm even gonna say the safe spread here is 5.5, and they should at least get this done by a touchdown. If you don't get this done by a touchdown, you know that you have some real problems. And it might not even just be on the defense side of the ball. Now we're going to go to our final game here, Central Michigan versus San Jose State. And a lot of people are actually big on San Jose State. The line was at 14, and at 14, I'm gonna be honest, I like Central Michigan. They got a new coach, but they returned their quarterback. They got some skill talent there. I believe they're gonna probably try to run the ball more with this new coach as he comes from one of the military schools. And I wouldn't be surprised if you even see Central Michigan running some options. San Jose, they lost some talent on the wide receiver. They lost some NFL talent actually on the wide receiver side of the ball, and that's big. I've, look, San Jose, when you have offensive talent that's capable of getting to the NFL, you already are a big difference maker on the side of the ball. In college football, when a lot of these athletes aren't going to make it to the NFL, so having that talent there makes you makes life a little bit easier, right? But they lost that. And with Central Michigan's style of play, I feel like they're going to take this game. I'm gonna lean towards Central Michigan to cover that 14. Also going to lean towards the under because both of these quarterbacks threw double-digit interceptions last year. A lot of drives stalled. I'm expecting some field goals here. Again, I'm expecting Central Michigan to control the clock, try to dictate the pace of this game, which I feel like has this going under. And with Central Michigan probably going defensively here, slowing down the pace and like expecting some turnovers, some stalled drives, and some field goals. I'm also going to lean towards safe pick for San Jose State to go team total under 35.5. I don't see them putting up 40 or even 38 points at minimum on this Central Michigan team. They're not going to get that many drives, I feel like, and they're going to have some turnovers on that side of the ball. They might get to 30, but I feel like 28 is probably a better level for them. And again, and because of that, I see this actually going under again on the total. Both quarterbacks like to, they have issues with ball security, and that's kind of what my lean here is. And 1-7 on the under picks, not even under picks on the total picks, but we'll see how this goes here. How you guys liking? How you guys leaning?